Hello, everyone. This is Megan,
And this is Alana.
and welcome to Tea Time Crimes. Quick content warning that today's episode has a lot of child mortality, no details, crimes that happened in the 1800s to the 1950s, but want to give that warning for anyone who that might trigger. All right. Hello. Episode 3. We learned a couple things from last time. One, that Alana puts her teacup down on the desk like she's a judge. And it's the gavel of justice.
It is.
And
true.
2, that I don't know how to say the word. Say it for me.
Typewriter.
But say it right.
Typewriter.
No, yeah. During editing, I just kept saying typewriter. I don't know why I was saying it like that. I usually blame my weird speech things on. Usually I can say, oh, it's a New England thing, but I don't think this one flies.
I don't know if you can blame that one on
Yeah.
it.
Any New Englanders, let me know how you say typewriter. Is that right?
You got it.
Typewriter.
Typewriter.
I could probably blame my dad for this, though. My dad adds A's and R's to every word.
Yeah, actually, you probably could.
Yeah. He has a lot of good ideas. So, one of them was mailing meat, but that's for another day. Hi, Raj. Anyway, yeah, so I don't know how to say typewriter, and Alana's going to be a little bit more gentle with her teacup.
I am. It's true.
Yeah, but let's start off with, what tea are you drinking today?
All right. You ready for this one?
Yeah, it's always my favorite. Okay. I'll try to be quiet.
So, it's pretty classic. We're going with the English breakfast tea. So one of my favorites. Normally I'm an Irish breakfast kind of gal, but I'll take an English. But here's the thing. It's a Choice Organics. And this classic, it's full-bodied. Okay, folks? Deeply full flavor. Robust and rich. And you know what? I gotta agree. It's great. It's a great way to start the day.
All teas have bodies. You taught me that.
They sure do.
Yeah.
Some have none, but some like this.
Oh, wait, some have none. Then not all teas.
No, some are very, very light bodied.
Okay, well that's
like a lemongrass or a chamomile.
Okie dokie.
So,
so do you like it?
I do. I really do like it.
That's what I drink every morning.
Yeah.
It's some sort of English breakfast. Oh, we'll have to post that pic. That's a nice tea bag. It's a beautiful orange. Is it a feather on it?
I think it's a tea leaf.
Oh, that makes more sense. They don't make a lot of tea out of birds that I know of. Well, I'm glad you went with a classic tea today, because today's episode is a little bit darker, and English breakfast tea is like, you'll see. So we're going to talk about, this is the Black Widow episode. Do you know what Black Widows are? Not the spider.
Yep. Can
you tell us?
They are women who kill their husbands.
Or spouses.
But
or anyone remotely close to them who gets in their way. Including their children.
Black Widow.
And friends and distant relatives.
It's disturbing.
It's very disturbing. And so we're going to cover 3 different women today. They span across totally different time periods, different geographies, but their stories are super similar. I mean, it's weird. It's like they're literally 3 completely different women, but the method for their murders, it's the same formula.
Maybe they were just reborn into different bodies.
Oh gosh, it's possible. That dives into a whole nother theory. I didn't consider that. So because obviously these women are no longer alive, and nobody gave them a mental health examination during, well, maybe they did the latest one, but the first one's in the 1800s, so they weren't getting there's not a lot on them, and if they did get mental health diagnoses, we don't know about it. But what I found in doing some research, just because I'm interested clinically what's going on, they more than likely, now I'm saying this with a huge disclaimer, right? I'm not a doctor of anything. And it seems that violent offenders and serial killers often have an antisocial personality disorder with psychopathy.
What's psychopathy?
Like a psychopath. So
Okay.
being a psychopath isn't a actual diagnosis, but there are levels of psychopathy that can be exhibited within an antisocial personality disorder. It's like a symptom of it.
Okay.
But having said that, there are several personality disorders and they're all different. They often get lumped together. So I just want to make sure it's clear that they're different. And then, antisocial personality disorder in itself does not mean you're a serial killer. You can have antisocial personality disorder and not be violent or not experience some of the same symptoms. So totally different for everybody. So I'm just focusing in on the profile of what most serial killers have. So this is if they're violent offenders, if they score high on the psychopathy, and they have most likely this disorder. And I find that the reason why I'm talking about this is because I find it interesting, because it wasn't until the 2000s, which I had to read a couple times. I'm like, so you mean now, right? That they really started researching women who kind of fit this profile. So before they researched men, and then they just were like, oh, well, that doesn't fit women, so women aren't serial killers kind of thing most of the time, which they do for a lot of stuff, because women present it differently than men do. So they share a lot of the same characteristics, like lack of remorse, lack of empathy, high intelligence, manipulative, charming, really good liars, can turn their emotions on and off, all that stuff. This is how they get away with this kind of thing for so long. But their motivations are totally different. So men, and again, I'm talking about this subgroup, so I'm talking antisocial personality disorder, high psychopathy, and violence. So this is a super, super small percentage of the population. Right. The motivation for men tends to be sex, control, power, dominance.
Gross.
Right. The motivation for women in this group is money, a practical means to an end. They just want to get some stuff done, and attention or notoriety. So totally different.
Yeah.
And you'll see that through all three of these cases. You'll see those motivations just running rampant. And then additionally, female serial killers tend to kill their family members, whereas males don't. Yikes. Right? And so, and then family kind of extends, anybody in their orbit, you'll see. And so, right, you do a huge disservice by just assuming that women aren't capable of this, because then they're just out there killing their family for 20 years.
Ugh.
And yeah, yikes. Also, men tend to be more violent and prone to things like torture. And
that's nice.
I know, sorry, I'm trying to keep it a little light and breezy for you. Where women, they're not like that. They're kind of just let's just here's a task that I need to accomplish in order to get what I want, and let's just complete it. And when we're done.
So do they not take as much pleasure in the violence?
Yeah, they don't. I don't think so, because it's not often. I mean, I guess it depends how you define violence. Once you hear, how these, most women serial killers will use poison. This is what all three of these women are using. So poison is less violent than, knives and guns. But at the same time, they're slowly watching. They don't die instantly. So they're sitting there watching somebody die over a couple of days.
Gotcha.
So I don't know how you.
It's pretty nasty.
That's kind of, that's That's low-key violent for sure. But I don't know how you define that. So I think that's typically what they use. Like women use things like poison, like a sneakier way rather than just like in your face. Yeah. And women in this category also tend to score higher than men on emotional intelligence. So it's like another way they can kind of slide under the radar.
That makes sense.
I know, which is probably just a side effect of like societal conditioning, right? Like
Right.
Women are supposed to use words. That was a great statement. Let's see here. So anyway, just I find it interesting to keep those things in mind because it fits with each of the women. And it really is just like you just took out the details and replaced them. And it's the same exact story 3 times over.
Crazy.
So the first Black Widow, did I tell you I caught a Black Widow once, like an actual spider?
What do you mean you caught one?
Well, I didn't know what it was, and I just moved to California, and
oh no,
I'd never seen one, and I thought Black Widows had the red spot on their back,
and it's their belly,
and I didn't know. And there was a big black spider on the wall. And
no!
And I was like, "Ooh, that is
surprising." That was
spider.
Indoors, though. They usually are in like.
Well, I was in a guest house that attached to the garage, so I think it just came up and over because there was like a hole in the. I don't know. It's like a high ceiling. And then so I got a cup and I put the cup over it and then slid something underneath it and had it in the cup. And as I was in the cup, I'm looking at it and I like, this is the blackest color I've ever seen. I've never seen a spider this color. It was so.
You see the hourglass.
And then I picked it up and looked underneath and I saw it was bright red. I mean, they're so colorful.
Yes.
Most of the time, things are kind of muted, but this was unbelievable. And I
like,
oh my gosh. And I ran outside.
Stay away. I am very poisonous.
So I ran it outside. I actually took it across the street.
It's nice of you. You didn't kill it.
Well, I was too scared to kill it. I didn't know. Like, does the venom just spray? Am I suddenly just like ensconced in venom? I didn't know how it would work. I got nervous and I just ran it across the street and like let it out. Gave it a stern talking to, though. You better believe. Another one did not come in my house, so I don't know.
It worked.
Anyway, back to Black Widow as the killers. Okay, so the first one on our list is Mary Ann Cotton. Okay. She is dubbed Britain's first serial killer. I'm sure that's not true, but it's 1800s, so it's just like, hey, it's the first time anybody wrote it down.
Right.
While I'm talking, Google a picture of her because she's the scariest one of them all. It's probably just because it's the 1800s and I feel like everybody in a photograph looks scary. But she just looks Mary Ann Cotton. She just looks like I would not want to mess with her. And again, it's probably just the photos of the 1800s. The other two women, I mean, they just look like women, but isn't she right? Isn't she chilling?
She's a little off.
Yeah, I would not want to encounter her in a dark alley. We'll post a pic. Anyway, so the way that she served her poison was through tea.
Oh, that's nice.
Probably English breakfast. So
it's probably full-bodied tea to hide the poison.
Full body to hide the arsenic.
Yeah. I got you, Mary.
Oh God, don't relate to her so quickly. So she was born in 1832, most likely on Halloween. Record keeping for all three of these women is terrible, so we're doing our best. In England. Not a lot is known about her childhood. It's assumed it was probably rough because it was 1832 and she was poor, right? We'll just make that assumption.
And she ended up as a serial killer. So.
Yeah. Anybody can. Serial killers don't discriminate against class. But her father was said to be really strict and religious, and he worked in the coal mines, and he actually died when she was pretty young. And it's thought that death had a huge impact on her, not necessarily the death part. I don't know if it did or not, but more so the fact that because her father died, there was a real risk at that time that her family would have to go to a workhouse or be separated or be homeless. And it was said that kind of started her obsession with making sure she had enough money.
Oh boy.
So in order to avoid that, her mother remarried, and Mary Ann did not like this dude. Was not interested. And
was he bad?
I I don't know. It's a serial killer's word, so I don't know if I can go by her judge of character.
Yeah, that's
But
fair.
also, it's probably pretty likely that, I mean, he could absolutely have done terrible things.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. So we don't know. There's nothing about him. But she left early to work in a house, I'm assuming as like a caregiver or maid. And then in 1852, she married her first husband, William Mowbray. And here's again, record keeping gets
Poor
a little
William.
dodgy. I know, poor William, exactly. It's amazing though. Each of these women, they were married to their first husband for a while. So Marianne and William had 5 kids, like right up. I don't even understand the math on it. So that's why I say the record, like quicker than should be humanly possible. And 4 out of those 5 died from gastric fever, which is essentially typhoid. And in those times, infant mortality rates were something different.
Right.
They still to this day don't know. They kind of always put like, maybe she killed these children. Maybe that it was just unlucky. It was 4 out of 5 seems high.
Yeah.
So William was heartbroken, obviously, and
Yeah.
he actually took out a life insurance policy because he was nervous. Like, what if something happens to me? And at this point, they now have more children. They had 8 in total, it's believed.
Okay.
So they have the rest of their children and Marianne, and he wants to make sure they're taken care of. So he takes out a policy. In the mid 60s, so 1864 or 65, William passes away. Around that time, all the rest of the children, except for one, also pass away.
From?
Gastric fever.
Was typhoid raging or something?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like somebody should be connecting the dots, but they do not connect the dots for a long time because record keeping, it's not like they can pull it up on their computer. There's no alerts, right? I wonder if she even called the doctor, honestly.
Oy.
So she received half a year of salary, whatever William was making at the time, for his life insurance policy. And she took the last remaining child, Isabella, to her grandmother, so Marianne's mother, and she left the child there. Now, why?
Why?
I mean, yeah, I know. Why that one? I mean, I wish all of them were fine, but
I wonder if it was like, I mean, if she did kill the other ones, I wonder if it was like a change of conscience for just a moment, and she's like, let me get rid of this one before I kill it too.
Well, she absolutely killed the remaining 3, it's believed. They just don't know about the first 4 because there aren't even records of the first 4's births. It's just her word. But I don't know why you would, I mean, I don't see the point in making that up. But yeah, so anyway, like, why did that one survive? And I read this article too where women with this kind of profile, this serial killer vibe, they don't they don't think of children as their children. They're just something they own. It's just a possession. And they just use them as is needed. So they can get, like, if they want attention, they'll play up that mother card pretty intensely, right? It's just different. It's not like a normal, obviously, it's not a normal bond that, you might have with a child. A little different. So anyway, so Isabella is at her grandmother's, and Marianne goes to work. So she starts working as a nurse, and staff loves her. She
starts working as a nurse.
Yeah, a lot of these women take on a caregiver role, either professionally or just in the home.
Oh my God.
It's a common theme. So she's working as a nurse, and the staff likes her. She's really good at cleaning. She uses arsenic, by the way, to clean. Yeah,
interesting.
I know. So she's working. The staff likes her. Remember, super charming. I don't know. I mean, she must have been smiling because that picture, I would be crying. And she starts something up with George Ward, who is a patient there, which is perfect because he's already sickly.
Yep.
And she marries him. He dies within a year, and he also has a life insurance policy, which Marianne collects on now. And then Marianne makes a big scene about how the doctors didn't treat him right, and that's why he died. Okay,
so did he die of some sickness?
I believe they all died of gastric fever. Which presents like arsenic poisoning. Yeah, so
How'd you like that?
arsenic is really easy to get at this time, and apparently it's in everything.
Okay.
So
Yeah, they did put it in a lot of stuff, huh?
yeah, it's in toys, it's in wallpaper, and in 1858, 15 people died from eating candies that were accidentally poisoned with arsenic. So it's not, I mean, to us it seems so, what is that?
Yeah.
Why is anybody using arsenic? But it was something that was kind of everywhere, and people
Right.
would accidentally get hurt by it all the time. But it also presented like several other illnesses. So it was hard to pinpoint. They couldn't even test for arsenic until like 1850.
Okay.
So it was new on the scene. So, okay, so George dies. She moves on to her third husband. This one is the saddest one for me. She moves on to her third husband. She starts working for him as a housekeeper. His name is James Robinson. It's about 1867. And he brought her on because his wife had just died and he had 5 children and he needed help.
Mm-hmm.
So a week after her arrival, one of his 5 children gets sick and dies.
Why?
Well,
how's that helping her?
Marianne comforts him and becomes pregnant.
Oh my God.
I put air quotes around comfort.
Thanks for that.
Yeah. And so she becomes pregnant. So now she's pregnant. I mean,
she needs to get married.
More, yeah. I mean, it's 1800s. Like, absolutely, you're getting married. But her mother gets sick. So Marianne goes to see her mother to help her. And her mother's actually on the mend and doing okay. But as soon as Marianne gets there, she makes her some tea. She takes a turn for the worse. And
Isn't Isabel there?
I think it's Isabella.
Bella.
But yes, she's there. This is the part. She takes Isabella back with her to James's house.
Don't do it.
And
run Isabella.
And this is April now of 1867. 2 more of James's children die, and Isabella. Like, why? You let her live.
There's no purpose in this.
You let her live. Like, you have to, like, do you think it's like the children said something that just, she's like, nope, can't deal with you.
She's off the rocker.
So they get married in August of 1867. They actually...
This guy doesn't suspect anything, no?
Well, okay. She's pregnant, and then she has another kid. So she has like 2 kids back to back. The first one dies very quickly, gets sick, passes away. So she has the one daughter with him, and Marianne starts pressuring him to get life insurance. And he's like, nah, I don't want to. Leave me alone. And she won't stop pressuring him. And he's, 4 children have died. And he said, no, I'm not going to do that. So he starts to get suspicious. And then he finds out that she's also stealing from him. She's like pawning off of his stuff. So he actually kicks her out.
Bye.
With the baby.
Oh.
And so James is the only husband that survives. That absolutely saved his life, refusing to get the life insurance. And the baby's actually returned to James at some point. So that's one of the only children that survives Marianne as well.
So sad.
I know. It's ugh. So anyway, so now she's down on her luck. It's now 1870. She has a friend, if you can believe it. Her name is Margaret Cotton. So you can see where this is going, because Marianne Cotton. It gets a little confusing because they all have similar names. But Margaret Cotton introduces Marianne to her brother Frederick, who is recently widowed.
Margaret.
I know. Margaret. Ugh. And Margaret had actually been acting like a mother to the children because they lost their own mother pretty early on.
Oh, no.
That's her first mistake. So that year, Margaret and the youngest child die from gastric fever. She's not technically divorced from James because he literally just booted her.
Okay.
But she doesn't tell Frederick that. So her and Frederick get married. And Marianne has another baby. Within a year, Frederick and the other 2 children have died. And she collects life insurance on all of them. Like, how is somebody not... Like, anybody who knows Marianne, how are they not just like, hey...
Nobody's following her trail.
I know, but even like... That's why I wonder if maybe that's what happened to her mother. I wonder if her mother is like, what is going on?
Why is everybody dying around you?
Because her mother would know.
I mean, you'd think, I guess, on a normal psyche, that all that death would be really heavy.
Well, I think, but I think this is where like that attention piece. So she's getting the money from the life insurance. I imagine she's getting quite a bit of attention because people feel sorry for her.
Yeah.
And then
Oh man,
it's
so
like a
gross.
practical means to an end. Like it's she needs money and this achieves that. Yeah. So after this, she takes a break from marriage and just has a boyfriend for a minute.
Okay.
It's apparently an old flame, which I understand that old flames can, transcend time, but it just seems funny in the 1800s. She has an old flame named Joseph Natris. But while she's dating him, she actually becomes pregnant with another man's child.
Wow. She,
Yes. Well, she's charming. Let's put it that way.
She sure is.
So Natris dies, but he doesn't have a life insurance policy, but he made sure to sign everything he did have over to Marianne.
Well, there you go.
Obviously.
God,
so
she must be charming.
Now she's pregnant with this. There's some discrepancy on his name, but I'm going to go with John Quick Manning. It's a hyphenated name. And so she's pregnant with his child, but there's still a Cotton child from Frederick who has survived. His name is Charles Cotton, and he's technically with her because she's his stepmother. And she asks an official if she can send Charles to the workhouse. And the official says, not unless you go with him. To which she replies, that's okay. I won't be troubled long. And then Charles dies within a week.
Oh my God.
So that person was like, hold up. And that person actually reported her. And that's what's kicked off her investigation.
Oh, good.
So they examine Charles, and he has arsenic in his stomach. She served him tea. And then they exhume her old flame, Natris, and 2 of the other Cotton children, and they all had arsenic. So at that point, they stop exhuming bodies. That's enough.
Yeah.
To bring a case against her. This is why, like, for most of these, there's so many victims that they just want to make sure that they stop her, that they don't look into every case.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
So I mean, arsenic, like I said, it was easy to get. It's tasteless. It's in everything, which is just odd. But she's pregnant, remember? So they have to wait till she gives birth. But the trial starts in 1873 after she gives birth. So this child is put up for adoption and taken in. So she's said to have 13 children in total.
Right. I was about to think, like, how many kids has she had?
And only 2 survived.
Oh my God.
So the one where James kicked her out, that daughter, and then this daughter that she had in prison. Yeah. She claimed that Charles died because there was arsenic in the wallpaper. The jury deliberated for an hour. And they were like, no, you're guilty. And they sentenced her to death. So she was actually executed on March 25th of 1873 at the age of 40. Wow. There was
a death trail.
There was an issue with her execution. I don't know if you want to earmuff or if you'll feel like it's okay because of who it's happening to. You make the choice. Issue? Do you want to hear? She's thinking. It's up to you. There was a measuring issue.
No.
Okay, earmuff. So the executioner did not measure correctly. So typically she was hanged, and typically when somebody is executed this way, the trapdoor falls out and they're killed instantly because their neck breaks. He didn't do it right. So she actually suffered for 3 whole minutes before she died, which is gruesome.
I'm back.
You're back? Okay. Okay. So she died that day. That's all we'll say to you.
Okay.
Yeah. So if I go through, it's confusing. People. There's so many victims. So here are what is thought to be her possible and probable victims. So there's the 4 unnamed children that they just don't know. There's no birth record. There's no death record. They don't know what happened, but that's Marianne's. Then there were 3 Mowbray children.
Okay, so
Margaret Jane, John Robert, and Margaret Jane. She named it after the same name. Just so you know.
Wow.
And then William, her husband, who she was married to for a decade.
8.
Then her second husband, George Ward.
9.
Then John Robinson, which was James's son, her third husband.
10.
Her mother, Margaret.
11.
2 more of Robinson's children, James Jr.
13.
and Elizabeth. Her own daughter that survived from William, Isabella, who was
14.
9. She let her live for 9 years.
Ugh.
I don't understand. Then her child with James, Mary Isabella.
15.
She reuses a lot of names.
Yeah, she's not very creative.
Then her friend who introduced her to Frederick, Margaret Cotton.
16.
Then Frederick Cotton himself.
17.
Frederick Cotton Jr.
18.
Robert Cotton.
19.
And then eventually Charles Cotton.
20.
I think it's
Good
21.
Lord. Well, I might have missed a number.
Yeah, I think the 4, you didn't count the 4. So it's possibly 21 victims. Ugh.
Wow.
Right?
That's crazy.
Like just
you would just never get away with it nowadays, obviously, because there's better records.
Yeah, I feel like after 2 times, police are going to be
where are the bodies going?
Just at that, but so many people, it's just so different. Also,
people
like
died
I
of
said,
everything back then.
Infant mortality rate was so different.
Yeah.
She's also moving around a lot, so she's not in the same
that
town.
Helps.
Like I'm sure she's not moving far because she has to get there. But yeah, so that's Mary Ann Cotton. So ugh.
Oh,
yeah,
terrible.
So she's tea time crimes.
Yeah,
for real.
She literally is.
Yeah. Okay, so she was executed in what year did I say? 1873, I believe. And 1873. And then a couple years later, another woman was born in Poland.
Okay.
Yes. Her name this is her married name. Her name is, they call her Tillie Klimek. And she actually moved to Chicago when she was really young.
Huh.
So she grew up in the north side of Chicago, which apparently had the largest Polish population, aside from Poland, obviously, at that time. So she grew up in that community. And nothing is really known about her childhood either. Again, you have to assume, I'm sure it came with a set of challenges. Everybody does. Mary Ann used tea. Tillie was said to be an excellent cook and had a special stew.
Oh, no.
But still used arsenic. Same poison. It's just...
Yeah.
So the records, again, pretty dodgy. They don't know if she got married in 1890 or 1895, which would make her either 14 or 18, which is a huge difference. Right? It's not like she's 40 or 44. No. She's 14 or 18 to get married. That's a big deal.
That's a big difference.
Yeah, but she married John Mitkowitz. And so when she was young. And she was married to him again for a while until 1914.
Something snap.
He died of a heart attack, air quotes. And she collected $1,000 of the insurance money. Now, Tillie had a special little flair that she added to hers because, Mary Ann, I think if we go through the motivations, money, attention, and just a means to an end, Tillie also added some notoriety to it because she would predict the deaths. Which, looking back, is just dumb because this is how they found out that she was doing this.
Right.
So she started by predicting the deaths of neighborhood pets.
No.
And then she predicted the death of her husband, came to her in a dream. And then he died a couple days later.
And she's telling people?
Oh, yeah. This? People thought she had powers for a minute.
Yeah.
So she quickly remarried. There's several Josephs in this scene, but they're different Josephs. So she marries Joseph Ruskowski 2 months later. He only lasted a few months. He dies. She collects $2,000. She has a dream about him, and he dies. So she's getting upset. This is getting ridiculous. What a burden for her to bear. What a gift and a curse, burden. If you will. And so then at some point she has a boyfriend, also named Joseph, but different last name, Guskowski. And she accidentally lets it slip somehow. She got a little lazy and let it slip that she like took care of her other husbands. And so he doesn't run screaming from the room. He just says he's not going to marry her because of that. So
yeah, that's a good idea.
Joseph might have some issues there.
Wow.
And she threatens him. So she has him take her on a trip to another state so that she can threaten him with a law called the Mann Act, which at that point was you cannot transport a woman across state lines for the purpose of debauchery or immoral acts.
Okay.
So she says she's going to bring charges against him, and that keeps him quiet.
Huh.
But then he dies.
Oh, I wonder how.
Yeah.
Must be fluke thing.
So then she marries a man named Frank. This is 1921.
All right, we moved on from the Josephs on to Frank.
1919 that she marries Frank, I believe. Kupsik. Sorry if I'm pronouncing these names wrong, but he died in 1921 after 2 years of marriage. And she's starting to now, of course, she had a premonition, and she's starting to get like too confident. She sits by his bedside sewing her mourning hat, mourning as in grief, not like the daytime.
Yeah.
And she just sits there being like, oh, not long now, kind of like taunting him apparently. And then she also asks the super of her building if like, hey, do you mind, like Frank's not going to be around much longer and there's a sale on coffins. Do you mind if I just store one in the basement?
Stop it.
So she's getting real bold.
And she's doing it in the same community, right? Because these are all Polish last names. So
I mean, I don't think she's moving very
neighborhood.
far.
Just
yeah. Well, people are thinking she's like, well, you'll see. There's some people. Okay. People are thinking she's got powers, like she's psychic, right, and then other people, the people who question her, it doesn't go well for them.
Of course not.
So then she gets married to Joseph Klimek, which is where she got her last name.
Back to Joseph's.
Yeah, back to the Joseph. He became ill, and luckily for Joseph, his brother was like, hey, let's pump the brakes on this, and brought in his own doctor because this is getting crazy.
Nice.
And the doctor took one look at him and said, let's get you to the hospital, where they found out that he was suffering from arsenic poisoning.
Oh.
And he actually lived. He spent 3 months in the hospital and survived. Jeez. But his case is the one that, so now they start investigating, right? So they exhume the body, and like they find that the body of, I believe it was her first husband, had enough arsenic to kill 4 men.
What?
Yeah. So overdoing it as well.
Yeah.
And then all these other people start coming forward. So if we go through, there's a whole thing with her. So she killed her first husband.
Yep.
Joseph. John, I think. Second husband. Third husband, the boyfriend.
3, 4.
Right? She also, a cousin died named Rose shortly after, well, Tillie said, apparently Tillie's version of the fight was that she was spreading rumors. I assume those rumors are like, hey, how come everybody dies after they eat Tillie's special stew? So Rose died.
Okay.
And then 3 of her cousins, Helen, Stanley, and Stella, died.
Oh my God, 8?
And then there was another boyfriend who just went missing.
9.
We don't know where he is. And then there were several other cousins who came forward saying that they survived, but they got very sick, and like a neighbor got sick from arsenic poisoning. And then on top of that, they found out in the investigation. So Tillie was arrested in 1922.
Okay.
And they found out that Tillie and her cousin Nellie were kind of doing the same thing. And so there was this whole hubbub that like Tillie was running this whole like poison organization, and she was the head of it. None of the other ones panned out, but it's believed that Tillie's cousin Nellie probably also did this to her husband, 2 of her children, a grandchild.
Oh my goodness.
I know. So, but they brought her up on charges for supplying the arsenic to Tillie, and then they were going to press charges for the own murder, but those were dropped. I'm not sure why. And they could not prove that Nellie. I know. They couldn't prove that Nellie supplied the arsenic to Tillie because honestly, I mean, it was just, you just could buy it anywhere.
Yeah.
It was just rat poison.
Right.
So Nellie actually got off, but Tillie
That's crazy.
was found guilty. And Another piece of this is like all these women are just said to be super cool under pressure. Just not like no,
You're not
they're not
fazed.
concerned really. And Tillie was said to be a really good inmate and was nice to everybody, but though she was not allowed to cook in prison.
Yeah,
probably a smart move.
That's a good move, guys.
And just an interesting fact, this happened in 1922. It was 2 years later that the famous murders that are based on the show Chicago happened.
Oh.
So, I mean, Chicago's got, they got a lot going on in these last years.
Windy City.
The media actually destroyed Tillie for her appearance, which it's just dumb. I mean, she looks like a normal human being. Who cares? But I think, still today, there's that stereotype that like a Black widow is like this really like beautiful, sexy, shapely woman. Shapely, that's the right word, right?
Yeah.
Now I'm picturing somebody made of squares and triangles.
No. My God.
But they were like destroying her appearance. It's like, oh my gosh, you guys, like women can, be serial killers.
They can kill
and be destructive. Like, let's not like golly. But they were saying that maybe she would have got off if she was beautiful. I'm like, oh, how could she have gotten off? It's like double digits of people.
Yeah.
Lord.
So she just went to jail for life. She didn't get executed?
She did not get executed. She died in 1936, though, in prison.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
People need to pick up on stuff a little quicker, okay?
Right? Especially like Marianne, I'm giving too much slack because it was the 1800s and I feel like nobody, like you have to like walk over to somebody to tell them things, but
right.
Like what is going on? This is all within the same area.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's the same, like the Polish immigrant community in the same neighborhoods in Chicago. People talk. There's radios now.
There's radios.
Yeah, no, I'm saying there's more.
We interrupt this nightly broadcast to let you know that Tillie's husband, number 7, has died.
I'm just saying there's more dissemination of information.
Yeah. I don't
1800s.
Know. I think it's confusing too because like she was married to that first husband forever.
Something just has to snap.
And then it's like boom, 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 boom. It just one right after the other.
It's like, oh, this one's fine. I can keep going. I can do another one and then another one.
Yeah, don't you wonder, like, is it really just like they're watching their bank account and it's just a matter of when they need money? Or do you think they just said something or just annoy her as well? And it just like...
I bet each time just got easier. Like probably the first one was tough and then it was just like, she sounded like, she's like, oh, it's not long for you.
Like, I know, okay. She started taunting them. And because I've had my premonition.
Yeah.
Right. Oof. Also, her last husband, who actually survived, he ended up dying later at a different time for something else. And his body was riddled with arsenic. God. So she probably was doing this over a long period of time.
Yeah. Is it like mercury? It just builds up?
I'm not sure. I don't know. Okay. So then the last one. So Tillie's died in 1936.
Okay.
So then we're going to jump forward. I'm going to kind of do this one backwards. There is even less information on this person. Her name is Roberta Elder. And I actually, I listened to a podcast about her. It's called Black True Crime. So there's almost no information on Roberta because the media didn't cover it except for a few Black newspapers.
Okay.
So there's almost no information about her today. And there should be the most amount of information on her because it was
most recent.
Yeah. There's almost nothing. And there was another woman doing this at the same time called the Giggling Granny, which the name just makes me nervous. I can't even talk about her. I know.
No.
Yeah, I know. And she was white and that got like, it's still covered today and it's no, but I was like, I can't cover the Giggling Granny because it scares me too much.
No,
so
I can't even hear that.
I came across Roberta. There's not a lot on her, but it's exactly the same. So now we're in the South. She's in Atlanta, I believe.
Okay, great city. Was just there.
Well, it should be safe now. So Roberta married Reverend William Elder Sr. He was a Southern Baptist preacher. And William had 5 children of his own. So these are her stepchildren.
Okay.
So William, or I'm going to call him the Reverend, he's a preacher, but, usually a preacher on the weekends, and then you have a normal, 9 to 5.
Yeah.
He worked construction during the week. So he went to work, and after eating his lunch, he got violently ill. His lunch was banana and cheese, which is I'm like, that might be your first problem. I don't even know how you eat that. How do you think it was? I've spent an unusual amount of time wondering how that was presented. Is it a banana and then separately a piece of cheese, or is it mushed up together in cottage cheese?
Oh, do we know what type of cheese it was?
No, it just said banana and cheese. So I'm is it does he have a string cheese or a sharp cheddar? What do we think's happening?
I mean, I'd prefer probably the cheddar.
I know, but banana, you can't peel a banana beforehand or it'll be gross.
So they just had a banana.
Maybe he just had a banana and then he just had cheese.
Yeah.
That makes the most sense. Together. Completely irrelevant, but it just always, it's always quoted because it's kind of a weird, I've never heard of anybody eating it, but I don't know. I'll have to ask Brad if it's a Southern combination. Brad is my husband from the South, if that didn't translate. So anyway, William gets violently ill. The doctor sees him and is like, hey, yeah, you have a stomach bug. Call me if it gets worse. We need to monitor this. So Roberta takes care of him.
Oh, I bet
and she keeps giving him milk of magnesia. Is that how you say it? Is this another typewriter thing?
Magnesia?
Magnesia? Not magnesium. Milk of magnesia.
Okay.
And I think it's for stomach ailments. So she's giving him that. And she does not call the doctor again until it's too late. So when the doctor arrives, I mean, it's just too late. And the doctor, though, credit to him, says he could write the death certificate, but he decided not to. He actually called in the coroner because the year before, William had lost his daughter, Fannie Mae. And the year before that, he lost his daughter, Annie Pearl.
And while he's with her.
So
come on.
This doctor's like, hold up. And he called in the coroner.
Why is everybody dying?
Yeah. Coroner does tests for arsenic, comes back positive. He calls the authorities.
Oh, at least she didn't get too far.
No, we started backwards this time.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I know. Hold up. So, Roberta took care of the girls while they were sick as well. So they exhumed the girls' bodies. There's arsenic in their hair, which is enough for them to make the conclusion that she poisoned them as well. And everybody had life insurance policies. And these life insurance policies were nothing. They were thought to be from $30 to $500. Ugh.
I mean, it's probably enough to get by.
But $30? Come on.
Yeah, it's rough.
What's that? Ugh. So she was arrested on September 26, 1952. And then this is when they start the investigation. I'm like, all right, well, let's look into your past. So, okay, they go back to her first husband, and there's no marriage certificate because he was a common law.
Yeah.
His name was John Woodward. He died at 36 in 1938. So they're like, okay, hold on. So then they start looking. So her victims, they believe, include the Reverend, his daughter Annie Pearl, who was 9, his daughter Fannie Mae, who was 15.
3.
Then her first husband, John Woodward, her own mother, again, just like
5.
Mary Ann. She had 2 infant daughters, Willie Mae Thurman and Lizzie Mae Thurman.
Oh, 6, 7.
Both died. She had a son, Willie Thurman, 12.
8.
She had a grandson, Jimmy Lee Crane Hunter, who died under her care.
9.
A cousin, just like Tillie, Gloria
10.
Evans. Another husband, James Garfield Crane.
11.
And then it said that possibly the Reverend's ex-wife.
Oh, 12.
Yeah. And then there was another one, too, that there was a neighbor as well, I believe.
13.
I don't have her
Good
name.
Lord.
I know. And they thought, they did the math, and they said it averaged out to 1 person a year.
How? How do you carry that? Oh.
I know.
Ugh.
So she gets put in prison, but there's only circumstantial evidence, and they're trying to, like, again, in these cases, it all seems to be like, hey, where'd you get the poison? And they could not prove that she bought it at any place.
Yeah.
But what they believe, the theory is that she would go to her brother's farm, and then she would come back every time with pink powder that she said was for killing like bugs or rodents or something.
Yeah.
And the Reverend's surviving children, one of them said, yeah, I saw that pink powder the week my dad passed away. And then there's 3 children left. All 3 of them had to be treated for exposure to arsenic.
Wow.
And another one, his son said, yeah, I stopped eating there because I got violently ill twice.
It's just crazy that she could do this.
I know. And so I say, like, it's so dangerous to make these assumptions because women serial killers are killing their family and, like, everybody who gets in their way. And so they get more victims.
Yeah.
Because there's an assumption that, like, oh no, you don't fit the profile. So you couldn't have done it.
Yep.
Ooh. So she was actually found guilty, but they only could do life in prison because she was convicted on circumstantial evidence. And so they could not sentence her to death.
Got it.
She died in 1977 in prison of cancer.
Wow.
Yeah. Yuck.
That's disturbing. All of these are very disturbing.
I know. So isn't it unbelievable though? Like, these are totally different women spread out over 100 years, and it's the same story.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, poison, you can get by with it for, well, double digits.
I know, but yeah, all of them.
Yep. All of them.
I mean, and they had their own methods, right? Like tea, stew.
Right.
The medicine.
Yep.
Ugh.
No. Wow. Gotta check my tea now.
I know, right? How's that tea? It's like, probably not a great. Yeah, you're like, do I want to drink this?
Wow.
Yeah, and it's just like, it's hard for us to imagine.
Yeah, right. You can't get in the psyche because it's just like all these kids, and just like I just would feel so overwhelming that there's just constant death.
Ugh. And like, I mean, I can't understand, but I mean, Brad's safe, don't worry. Like, but I can, like, I can understand.
Run, Brad, run.
There are some cases where it's like, it's just different. Like, one person is murdered. It's just totally different than, I mean, this is just literally everybody who looked at her sideways.
Yeah.
Like, what'd you say? Did you look at my husband? Here, have a candy.
Yep.
Or what? Like, oh, did you just say that it's weird that people keep getting sick? Here, have some tea.
Ugh.
Ugh. Yeah. So there aren't a lot of great pictures of Roberta either. The pictures that, like, the quality's just really poor. But we'll try to post pictures of all 3. Mary Ann's by far the most chilling to me, but that might just be her hat. I don't know. Her cloak.
She also killed the most people.
Yeah, she seems the most ruthless to me.
Yeah, she does. I mean,
Tillie's pretty bad too, but I don't know. I mean, Tillie couldn't keep it together.
No.
Longer. She started, like, bragging pretty quick. But Mary Ann, like, I don't think I guess that's what happened to Mary Ann too, though, eventually. Like, don't worry about it. No, I won't be bothered long.
Yep.
That was her undoing as well. So who knows how long Roberta would have gone, because it was actually the doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Because she was not maybe she was, again, not a lot of information, but there was no info that she was bragging about anything like the other 2.
But I wonder if it's just like better doctors, or, more connected.
Yeah, because it's the same
where they
doctor.
Pick up on that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like as soon as, then that was the thing, Mary Ann tried to, like, move around a lot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
I still can't believe Tillie got away with so many being in the same neighborhood.
I know. Well, she must have moved around the neighborhood, I would assume. But also, I have to think she brought in her own doctors maybe, or different doctors who because
So
remember
couldn't have a trail.
Yeah, remember the last guy, his brother actually is what saved him because he brought in a doctor.
Yep.
And so you have to think she was either not bringing them to doctors, like, "Oh, I'll take care of you."
Or like bribing the doctors.
Or just getting the worst doctor that she could find.
Yeah.
And again, these, super charming, right? So I'm sure when the doctor's there, it's tears and concern
Oh, sure.
and worry
Put a
and,
whole
"Oh my
act on.
gosh, can't what can I do?" And then the second they leave, she's, like, dancing around the room sewing a hat.
Sewing a hat.
Oh, well, and then she wore it to the trial.
Of course
I
she
mean,
did.
like
Wow, these ladies are sick.
like this it's,
Ugh.
I guess I don't know why I expect, like, social etiquette to be upheld, but it's like, really? That just seems like a bad choice.
It's
For you, like, you'd
tasteless.
think, like, for your own guilty verdict, you might not wanna wear the hat that you sat sewing by your last husband. And then
Wow.
tried to store a coffin in the oof. And then
Yeah.
I think it was Marianne, I might be wrong on this, but I think it was Marianne. I can't remember if it was Marianne or Tillie. One of them said something just unbelievable, like, "Ugh, well, let's just wait, and let's just wait to have the funeral because, like, more will be dead. Like, just let's put a pin in that." One of them said, I
Oh
can't remember
my
which one it was.
God.
Yeah. There's actually I'd be kinda interested in watching it. There's actually I think it's like a miniseries. Do you know is it Anna from Downton Abbey?
Yeah.
What's the actress's real name?
Oh, I don't know.
Hold on, I can't say I have it written
She's
down somewhere.
Mary's maid.
Yeah, she starred in a show, Joanne Froggatt, is that right? I don't know. Anyway, Anna Bates in Downton Abbey. She starred in a show called Dark Angel, and it's supposed to be based on Marianne's life.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is she Marianne?
Yeah.
I can't imagine her character in Downton Abbey is so sweet.
I know. It's totally different character for her, and yeah, she looks I saw, a preview for it. She's got, like, the severe hair that
Yeah.
Marianne had, like, that severe part, and dyed her hair, and,
Are you gonna watch it?
I don't know. I don't know how to get it. I'll be interested to see it, then I'll have to tell you about it.
Yeah.
Um,
Definitely not gonna watch it.
yeah, I know you won't. I mean, I'm surprised you're even here today. This is like pushing the envelope for you.
It is.
Yeah. But I can't wrap my head around these.
Yeah, it's so hard to get in the psyche of it.
Especially the children.
Mhm.
Like, just stop having children or give them away.
Well, there's no birth control.
I guess. It's true.
So
Well, then give them away.
right.
Like,
But she doesn't care. She, like you said, it's a possession,
I know.
not a real life.
It's like this possession is too much to
Yep.
carry now. Let's
You're
just
crying too much. Oh, you're eating too much food.
Oh,
Yuck.
yuck. I feel so bad for Isabella. Isabella is the one that gets me the most out of Marianne's
Yeah. It's gotta
kids.
be
I mean,
really
they all
hard.
do because they're all just little babies, but like she survived on several occasions. Like she almost made it. Why not just leave her there? Her mother must have said something.
Yeah.
Her mother must have questioned her because now she's on she was almost up to 10 victims. I mean, it was getting really high at that point.
Nope.
Yuck.
It's a no.
Yeah. Well, how did you do with this darker topic today?
It's all right. I mean, really, mine is the brutal details. Can't handle the brutal details.
Right. It's there aren't really a lot of details because
it was very vanilla on the details, so that was good for me.
Yeah. Well, there's not a lot of
It's
details
still
because
sad.
it's just all poison.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that's it. That's what they were talking about in the beginning. Like female serial killers aren't really violent. So there weren't a lot of violent details to give you because they just, here's some tea.
Right.
And then they just waited.
But isn't it pretty gross to die of it? Like, wouldn't you like vomit or poop your pants everywhere?
There was no notes on pooping pants, but well, it's weird. It like presents as different illnesses. So they thought, I don't fully understand it. They thought like all of Marianne's were gastric fevers, typhoid, which is it's like fever, stomach ache,
like,
stomach
that's gonna
bug.
be a lot to clean up every time. 21 times. Come on.
Well, yeah. And then, but they thought the Reverend's 2 daughters had died from pneumonia.
Hmm.
So I'm not sure. I don't know how. I don't know. They thought Tillie's husband was a heart attack.
Right.
I think it just it probably presents differently for everybody depending on the dose, depending on the person, I'm sure there's different types. Like, oof, yuck.
Very yuck.
Yeah. Yuck. Well, I'll try to bring a lighter story next week for you.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah. But I just it's just so strange to me. Like I just try to understand like the clinically like what is going on over there.
It's just disturbing.
Oof. Gives you the chills.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll do something lighter next week for you. Bring a lighter tea. Bring a light-bodied tea, if you will.
I will. Okay. Sounds good.
All right. Any last words of wisdom? I love that long pause as you think like I haven't asked you this every week.
No.
Well, wait. First, follow us on Instagram at
Tea Time Crimes.
Email us at
teatimecrimes@gmail.com.
Yes. And leave a review wherever you get your podcasts or send us an email. And while I was saying that, did you think of something? Your last words?
I really want to talk about the art in my hotel room.
Oh my God. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. Let's tee it up.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. So
we're taking a left turn. Go ahead.
All right. So I was in Atlanta this week, and I was at a hotel, and there's a painting. It's a hip hotel. It's of a woman eating a peach. Peaches are great. Love to enjoy them.
I hate the way you eat peaches.
Slurp it up.
Oh, it's so loud. It's a problem.
Anyways, so the background of the painting is blue. It's vibrant blue. And you know what? Imagine the frame of a painting, and then imagine just the streak of paint of a paintbrush going onto the wall, up the wall, and then the paintbrush is on the ceiling, glued to the ceiling. It was terrible. It was anxiety provoking. I hated it. And I'm going to post it on Instagram, and I want you to tell me if you hate it as much as I do.
I do. I still think about it. Like, I want you to rip that paintbrush down immediately. It kept me up a little bit. I was like, why is it there? Like, what if it falls down? Why did they do that in every room? How many paintbrushes are there in that hotel?
Right?
Ugh.
Yeah. Anyways, I need to just get that off my chest.
Yeah. I mean, and it also makes me think of you eating a peach, which is like one of my worst sounds. We used to work right next to each other, and I'd have headphones on, like be in the middle of something, and then I would just hear the slurping of 1,000 people, and it was just her eating one peach.
I can't wait for summertime, and maybe I'll bring some peach ASMR action onto the show.
And she sends me videos now. Every time she has a peach, I get a video of it.
I sure
do. Oof. So that was the first problem. I thought of you eating peaches, and then I didn't even notice it at first until you panned up, and I was like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Was it like that for all the paintings, or was that the only one that went outside?
That was the only one like that.
Ugh.
But the two in the bathroom was an eye sticking through, like peeking through. Creepy.
That's
in
fun.
a bathroom.
I want somebody watching me while I go potty.
So
I said potty.
It's funny. It's. I don't like the artistic direction. Let's leave it at that.
Yeah. I like how you're like, I stayed in a cool hotel. You set it up like you're so cool. Yeah. My vote is not to like it, but yes, post that. It'll be Marianne Cotton scaring you to the bone.
Yes.
And then 2 other women, and then a woman eating a peach with a paintbrush hanging over her head. Yep. Oh, plus your tea bag with the feathers on it, aka tea leaf. All right. Oof, yeah, I forgot about that. Oof. All right. Well, then I think that's it for us today.
Until next time on Tea Time Crimes.
Ooh, I love it. Bye.
Bye.